Hey YouTubers and train lovers, I'm going to show you my Marx lithographed frame sets from the 1930s. And first of all, we've got the clockwork motor that most people received in these sets, and it has a flint balanced on a stone, and as it goes along it sparks, and you would see the sparks through the smokestack of the Commodore Vanderbilt engine. And this engine happens to have the deluxe electric motor, and you can see a little lever here that's pushed forward to make the engine go forward, and then you could pull it back to go backwards. They had no reverse units. And here's our tender. I think that's 551. And once again, this great lithography. Here is a baggage car, which is a 1935 Colorado and Western reefer car. Here's a wrecker. Here's a little gondola. And here's our Santa Fe Middle States Oil. Boy, I'm going to have to move some trains up to make room. Just going to run them by hand and realize how long this set was. And this is my little tanker car, and you can see the litho down there. And here's my Northern Pacific General coal car. And here is a caboose. And what's interesting about this year is they only made two colors on their shell's lithography. So they're a bit boring. As you'll see, everything, it's just one primary color and then black over it. But if you look at the next year that they did lithography, which was, I believe, I have to look at my notes, 1937, they started doing three-color lithography. So look at the difference between the old original Marx here and the 1937 Marx, from 1935 to 1937. That's really something. And I'm going to move this first train backwards, which means I have to hand reverse the reverse mechanism. I guess it would help if I turn the power onto the track. And there she goes, just like a new train. And I am missing two cars from, if I wanted to complete all the cars that came from the 1935 set, I would have this 547 baggage car. However, it would be with a lithograph frame, and I would have a small double floodlight car. So those are the only two I'm missing. So in 1937 and 38, Marx came out with these red and white litho frame cars. And I think they made a whole lot of them because throughout the years they kept showing up in sets that were sold by Sears and Ward's and everybody else. And you'll see my Northern Pacific General Coal car, my Spotlight car that actually came with a Canadian Pacific work train set. So I thought that was a mistake, and it was not a mistake. I found the original copy of the original catalog from Sears, and it was correct. And here's a Colorado and Southern reefer car, a Middle State oil car, a Rock Island gondola, and here's a beautiful caboose, New York Central, and they put it on the back of a Canadian Pacific work train. So go figure. I think, Marx was cutting corners. They had extra trains, extra shells, extra parts, and they were going to use them up. And let's move this train up. Because they also made some very nice passenger cars. And I'm going to have to move these up by hand. And these are all three different kinds of passenger cars. They made varieties with that set during this period. And this Bogota has no interior lights. Still pretty sharp looking passenger car. This other Bogota has a switch on the side, and these are not solid painted windows. There's some kind of a film in there, and when you hit the switch and the power's on, you have lights through the window. And you'll also notice on this Bogota they put some very fancy grab irons, I would call them, to hold on to while you're getting in and out of the doors. And they've got them on both ends and both sides, of course. And the observation car is not illuminated inside, but it does have a illuminated drum in the back. So I know I've seen them on eBay, and there's more than you could ever choose from. And I've got quite enough of these right now. And you'll see 3 here. I'm looking up on my shelf. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's enough. And I still don't have them all. And now I'm going to go backwards and get some cars. I don't have a lot of room on this layout. And for the original 1935 cars, they also had passenger cars. Excuse me for pointing the camera down. They made a beautiful passenger car set. And once again, we're back to the white and silver lithoed frame. This was the observation. As you can see, this is Bogota, and this is Montclair. And there's something wrong with this set. I would say there's something wrong with it. Marx would say it was just fine. The original set I showed you had with black frames and silver litho, all had joyline couplers, all made 1937. Greenberg's lists this as 1937, but this has tab and slot couplers. So this just tells me they had some left over and they were putting out the tab and slot couplers in 1936, and they decided to use what they had, which is fine. I actually prefer the tab and slot couplers. I also should have mentioned that the red and white litho frame cars all have tab and slot couplers. So if you've ever seen these at train shows or on YouTube or on eBay and you're curious about them, now you've got some information. Usually I run the cars around and you see them going, but you don't learn anything. And I think it's really important to learn something, because I didn't have anybody to teach me any of this. I had to learn it all myself. So we're going to say goodbye to all the fancy lithographed frame cars. Let's move the oldest one up again. Oh, I forgot I'm going to have to hand reverse it. Boy, that's a lot of work. But I bet some kid thought it was pretty cool to have a switch on top of the train that he could switch by hand and hand reverse. Did it not go all the way? It may not have. There it goes. Now I'm going to have to turn it off real fast before I run into the other train. So we'll say goodbye to these fancy lithograph trains. And once again, this has been a Big Lizard production. And thanks for watching my typically disorganized videos. I really do need a production assistant to run the camera. Okay, bye-bye. Hope to see you soon.